there is a 60-minute special on Havana syndrome possibly being a Russian bioweapon against U.S. high-ranking officials. If you don't know what Havana syndrome is, it's a cognitive dysfunction that can lead to significant brain damage. It has symptoms like ringing in the ears and it's cognitive issues. The expert claimed that he believed Russia had something to do with it very early on in his investigation and said that the people affected were officials who recently did something against Russia to where Russia would have a reason to go after them. So this, along with the Chinese cyber attacks and potentially a Chinese terrorist attack and the migrants coming through our border, we are victims of attacks from foreign nations. I mean, the U.S. is no stranger to bioweapons. I mean, we have bioweapons in Ukraine. But this, coupled with what China is doing to us, subtly attacking us and our officials, this is becoming a problem. We have two global superpowers uniting against us. I talked about this in the last podcast. There's a new world order forming. The unipolar world is over. The multipolar world is here. And it appears that China and Russia are uniting to be at the top of that. And we're not. We're alienating ourselves from these people. We're making them our enemies. And they're uniting against us and attacking us. We are already at war with Russia via Ukraine. And if these claims are true with the cargo ship, then China has already launched a war. That is a declaration of war. Cyber attacks and terrorist attacks, they could coincide with one another, even if it's not Russia. I mean, if we have sort of a global, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, then you could have countries like China and Russia uniting like they are. And Russia is already allying with Iran, so is China and North Korea. So behind the scenes, could they collaborate and launch a widespread cyber attack that knocks out our power grids? And with the sleeper cells of terrorists that are, I would like to say potentially in our country, but the FBI has already said that they are in our country and even listed the cities that they potentially are in. So if you have those coincide with one another, say Iran activates its Hezbollah terrorist cells that are potentially here, and you couple that with a Chinese cyber attack that knocks out our power grids, we're looking at no power, no way to communicate with each other. There would be chaos across the nation. And then you have terrorist attacks taking place of Hezbollah terrorists, just wreaking havoc, and we have no power. That is catastrophic. And then likely China would then launch an attack on Taiwan. Who knows what North Korea would do? I mean, they could give North Korea the green light to just start shooting missiles at us. They've been dying to do that forever. That could be a problem. We are making a lot of enemies globally that really, really hate us and have the potential. I mean, we've been lulled to sleep here. We got terrorists coming through our border, creating sleeper cells across the nation. We have China testing out our response with cyber attacks on our infrastructure systems and potentially on systems like AT&T. And then you have potentially a terrorist attack on a cargo ship. They have the potential to do some catastrophic things to us. And we're not making our case any better. We continue to alienate ourselves, isolate ourselves, make more and more enemies. Oh, but we have NATO. Sorry, NATO will not put up a fight against the likes of China, Russia, and Iran, North Korea, and all BRICS. I mean, we would lose that battle. Because really, NATO is the United States and then its little sidekicks. If the United States falls, NATO stands no chance. So if an attack gets launched on us, if we get hit first, there's no we're going to hit back. It's going to be a devastating blow. I mean, if we have no power, nationwide, not globally, nationwide, launched with terrorist attacks. We can't respond if China launches an attack against Taiwan, but even if we do, they have the potential to scramble our fighter jets and knock them down, scramble the systems and knock them down. It would not be a very fair fight. Not only would it be horrible militarily, but you would have terrorists running and wreaking havoc on our nation, and we don't have power. We can't warn others. It would be a disaster. You can only imagine how much of a disaster that would be. Let alone after that how many Americans do you think could survive 3 days without power? It would be awful. It would be a nightmare. And like I said, we have many enemies that are dying to wipe us off the face of the earth. You have them chanting in their government meetings and their parliament meetings, their parliament sessions, chanting death to America. We are not liked globally, and our presence in the Middle East for the last 20 to 30 years, we've made a lot of enemies over there, and we're being lulled to sleep. And our open border is not making that any easy. It's not making that any better, because we're just opening the door to an attack on us. Not just a cyber attack, but when you have sleeper cells, there's no telling how many terrorist sleeper cells there are nationwide. And it should horrify you, because the FBI has openly admitted that there are gotaways and talked about the sleeper cells that are potentially being formed, and even named the cities. I mean, I don't have the list in front of me, but you can go do your own research on that. This is not a secret. And it's something our enemies have the capability to wipe us off the face of the earth. And, so do we, but we're the victims of all of these attacks. And what we're doing in Ukraine is not making that any better. We're continuing to make enemies with other people, and we're isolating ourselves. There's a new world order forming, and we will be on the losing side of that with how we're acting right now. So this should worry every American. And if these are all true with the terrorist cells nationwide and the attacks like the cargo ship attacks, it may be too little too late. And there's not much an American can do other than keep your head on a swivel and prepare yourselves for the possibility of this, and stay strong and be prepared if something happens, if the power gets knocked out and these sleeper cells get activated, just to prepare yourself for that. But like I said, we need to change course here and start making more friends than enemies, because the enemies of our enemies become friends and they unite. And when you have two global superpowers like China and Russia uniting against us, it's not good. So all we can do is pray that there's a change of course, a change of strategy, and we start really looking at the potential here of what could happen if we don't. China has if these allegations are true that this was a cyber terrorist attack, it is a declaration of war. And we're not going to do anything about it, I don't believe. Even if we did know that that was the case. We have to start responding to these people, responding to these countries who do this to us with strength, not weakness, like we have been. Unless this stuff will continue to happen, and they will feel no reason not to launch an attack like that on us. The new world order is forming. The unipolar world is over, and we have to adjust to it, or else we will fall as a country. And it will be ugly, and it will be catastrophic, and it will be horrible if an attack like that is launched on us. We don't realize that. Our government does not realize that. The FBI is openly saying how much of a terrorist threat there is. There's never been one like this before. We're not doing anything about it. I went down a real tangent there. Started talking about the Havana syndrome, but I was using that as an illustration of our enemies are uniting against us and are launching attacks on us like that. And it's a sign of what's potentially to come if we don't change course here.